We don't have an intro. This is the intro for the audience. Welcome to MetaNews, the best crypto Web3 news in the world.
Yes, sir. There we go. Yeah, so Peth and I are gonna start to be doing a Meta Alliance newsletter overview. So Meta Media gonna reboot that and have this as like a TV show slash network media for Web3. I've been saying it for a while. Even back in like the first MCon when I joined, or like when I first met all you guys, I was saying like the most important thing for us to do is to like tell our story and what we're doing more than anything else. Like give people like a look behind the curtain. So I'm glad that we're finally doing this, and yeah, excited to go over all the news and Meta Alliance and also the rest of the world of tech and whatnot.
Yeah, the wider world is a light so far, but we'll be improving that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like there's this video I always reference of Terence McKenna talking about the next phase of human existence, and he said before we enter that next phase, it's going to be like humanity like moving through the birth canal. It's like a very violent, painful, and like bloody process. But that's like, there's also the whole 80-year cycle theory that every 80 years there's sort of like a societal reset, and the last one we had was with World War II, and the kind of direction we're going seems to be that. And it maybe also is like the wider kind of media and political narratives like influencing people to start to believe that, to prepare them for it, like that's probably more likely what it is. Even if you look just like the movies that are coming out, there's like that one called Civil War, which is a movie about like a near term future civil war within the US. So it's kind of it's weird times, but these rough waters is when we need to be aligned.
Amen to that. Less shitty meta news coming next. I haven't watched the movie yet, but I'm seeing Twitter brewing about it.
Yeah, I think it's not out yet, but sometime soon. So let's hop into this Meta Factory. We've been working on the kind of next generation of our drops with the Harry Potter Bombasonic Teninu Genesis Racing Kit. So yeah, this is kind of okay, I'll have to paste it in this tab so you can see it, but hopefully you can hear the audio too.
Introducing the next generation, Meta Factory Drop. This cross-dimensional experience allows a user to mint digital assets while pre-ordering limited edition collectible products in one transaction. The user simply connects their wallet and mints directly on Ethereum mainnet or any layer 2. After a moment, a confirmation screen appears. The user is sent to securely enter their shipping information. Merchandise will be shipped internationally for no additional cost. After this step is complete, the user can go back to explore a themed virtual world built with custom avatars and vehicles, where they are able to hang with friends, have fun, and make content with their digital assets while they await the arrival of their products. Utilization of pre-orders prevents wasteful overproduction and allows for greater design customization and community input. Scanning the secure NFC chip embedded within the collectibles provides proof of authenticity and ownership on-chain, allowing projects and developers to create new and immersive ways to connect with their audiences. The possibilities are endlessly exciting.
Yeah, so
what would you like to build?
It's kind of the overview, and for us it was about like, we kind of saw this whole like the return of meme coins. That's been a big discussion, or that's been a big topic in like crypto space of like, I'd say like last cycle there's kind of a disdain for meme coins, but people seeing like how that still is almost the number one use case of crypto for the vast majority of the public. A lot of the regen people, or people who would otherwise been opposed to meme coins, have now been like considering it more, thinking like maybe there is something here. And for us, it's like the Doge, you could say, that started the whole meme coin thing out in the first place. It was about like parodying the idea itself, of crypto, just like, magic internet money. And, this, like Harry Potter Bomb Sonic Chaninu specifically, we really like the meme just because it's like the end game of that parodying. It's like a meta parody of meme coins itself. If you just look at like Shiba Inu and like all these like derivatives that came out. But there's actually like a genuine story behind the design, as well as like a bootleg backpack. It's like an old internet meme from like 2007 or something, of this like backpack that has design on it. And it's just like a shitty bootleg because they had to change the colors, and just like they just put a bunch of things that are well known and made it into one brand. So basically turning the meme into like like taking the meme further, where we're actually producing like really nice like fashion out of it and bringing the meme into the real world, and then like using that as a mechanism for like more community engagement. It's like I think having the meme token is one thing, but then spreading the meme further, it's like another thing. And usually when people talk about like utility for a meme coin, it's like trying to like build some sort of value mechanism into the meme coin, which actually just hurts it more than helps it. But this sort of utility is much more different. It's more like cultural utility, where we create this whole virtual world experience around it too, with like the physical merch bridge to the virtual world. And it's kind of a rabbit hole of like interesting stuff to dive into, where you might just buy the jacket because you thought it was cool, but then there's this whole meme coin community behind it, and these like virtual worlds that you can go in, and it's just like interoperable future metaverse stuff too, where this VRM like avatar, you can use it in Nifty Island, you can use it in like hundreds of different games and platforms, and so it becomes like a way to channel the meme towards like production and innovation of like these different verticals.
It's touching on so many different things
in a much more like pure direct way. Yeah, exactly. And so I think it really, any brand is always about people's feeling of belonging into that brand, and meme coins, the branding there is like a direct correlation of like people's, they kind of rise up together as well. And I think for a lot of like the wider public, meme coins feel like this kind of Robin Hood thing, where like the average person can, there's like that sort of dream of like getting this like huge access to like wealth, at the end of the day. That's a lot of the underlying thing, but doing so in a way together with a community around a certain mimetic idea is, I think, what makes that interesting. And more than just like, people think of like people wanting to get rich off meme coins as very kind of capitalistic or extractive, but in some way it's kind of like socialist too, where it's like, even like the slogan is like, this is the people's Bitcoin, so the ticker for this token is Bitcoin, and it's like kind of memeing like everyone else who missed out on Bitcoin, this is the people's Bitcoin. So it's just like, for me it's like having fun, and like it's like performance art, and like you don't have to build all these like contrived mechanisms of extraction and control and all that that comes with like corporations. Yeah, exactly. So it's, I think for us, the main thing was just we want to enhance the culture, and take it further beyond just like a token on a chain. Like when someone sees this, they're like, holy shit, this actually like took effort, and there's actually like something going on here. So I think it makes it much more real and validates, the idea of the meme and like legitimacy of the meme too.
Definitely.
But yeah, we kind of use like a bunch of like really interesting metaverse tech as a part of this. So if you have the Apple Vision Pro, you could see the race car model in your physical space. We used Hyperfy as like the metaverse platform for, it's like in browser, web game engine that you can, token gate and build like apps for, like 3D apps that can do interactive things. So really cool there. Arweave, of course, for like the permanent file storage. The PBT.io for like the physical to digital interface. And then, moving all of our sales on-chain as well is nice for like on-chain revenue split and royalties and stuff like that. So now with the L2s, we can have everything running purely on-chain instead of like just Shopify. So that's kind of what we're migrating towards, is like on-chain e-commerce.
I love how the whole thing is like just like funny shit, but then in the background is like all this cutting-edge technology and like.
Yeah, exactly. That was our whole goal, is like just not, and this is kind of like the whole Meta Cartel ethos as well. It's like the dancing chili logo, but behind the scenes we're like, working on cutting edge shit. So so this too, like this was like crazy timing too, because like the dev who like launched the token, or like the current dev, I guess, because the original devs and team that launched the token are just disappeared. Like no one knows who they are or where they went. But like these are the other community members that took over, and so he's the current dev.
This is actually like an actual video. I thought this is like a deep fake.
No, they actually fought. So BitBoy and Morelight, he's the dev of this token. He like came in with that jacket and the Sonic mask, and he fought BitBoy.
He could be in a 70s movie. He could play Dirk Diggler. With the hair.
Mike, you wanted NASCAR jackets for us, so hey.
That's it. It says it's got Sonic and Obama on it. I don't know what the two have to do with each other. He has a crypto project. Harry Potter, Sonic, Obama, and BitBoy. Armstrong.
So Ben Armstrong makes his way to the pit here.
Damn, BitBoy's got the face of a. He wants to hurt somebody.
You told me first round knockout. Let's see if it happens.
Oh wow!
Oh, look at that.
More light is moving these pissed. More light's mad.
Yeah.
Where is he?
He's
So
sitting
the funny
next to
thing
us.
is like Morelight actually lost
he's
the fight, but we
angry.
edited this video to make it look
Oh my
like
God!
he beat him. But,
Oh, right on the butt.
That was connected several hard ones. So,
yeah, so it's
yeah, I'm out of breath.
it's just like having fun, but taking it too far.
Right, in other news,
Yes. You wanna hit this one? Let's see. Ceramic hit 10 M's on mainnet.
go ceramic.
What is M's?
3 million something maybe, or 10 million something.
Let's see.
10 million what?
Let's see what these 10 million are. 10 million streams. Nice. So it's like each stream on Ceramic is basically each stream is like essentially like a file, or like a dynamic file. It's a record in Ceramic. That record can be updated according to the rules set in the record, and it has like structured data and fields. So yeah, for anyone who's not familiar with Ceramic, it's basically decentralized structured data, like its own chain handling just that, and you can compose it with whatever on-chain mechanics and any other chains, and augment it with verifiable structured network data. And so I think it's not gotten as much traction as I would have hoped it had by now, but I think it's because it's a very different model and way of thinking about building software, where it actually reminds me a lot of Obsidian. The guy who, the founder of Obsidian, talks a lot about file over app, where Obsidian, for those who don't know, is a note-taking app that stores all your files as plain markdown on your disk. So it's like very portable and standardized, and you don't have to rely on like Obsidian as a software existing forever to have like your permanent notes and kind of your digital second brain or whatever. So in that way, I think Ceramic, it's like shifting how people think about applications and platforms and software, where instead of building it with like the platform first, and then the data is like within that platform, in that kind of like silo. You start to think about the data model first and have like a shared data model that's then accessed and written to by like multiple different platforms. So, you know, you could use like Farcaster as an example. Farcaster has its own node network. It's not using Ceramic or anything, but it has its own node network, and people can, in a decentralized way, create their own client to consume that data or push new data into like Farcaster feeds and channels. And it's not limited to like just the Warpcaster app. There's like many different Farcaster clients, and you can create like many different experiences on that same underlying protocol. So Ceramic is kind of really optimized around verifiable data that's structured meaning you know what fields are there and what are the acceptable values. So if you think of like a DAO, you know, there's a data model to a DAO. You know, you have a DAO, its members, the voting shares, proposals, votes, like these are all kind of data points, and they have to be stored somewhere. And, you know, they can be stored on chain for a lot of stuff, but for a lot of other stuff, you might want to, you know, store it off chain or at least on chain in a way that's designed around like a data composability. So Gitcoin Passport, I think, is probably the most widely used Ceramic based software. And so, you know, it's like again another layer for data to store you know, verifiable data that's actually like custodied by you, or you own your data, so it's user owned data about all your Sybil resistant data points assigned to you by like Gitcoin Passport. So you verify your Twitter accounts or identity and all that, and you can link that permanently to your Ceramic profile that then any other app can access and use as a data point or whatever they want to use the Sybil resistant data for. They can use it without needing to like access Gitcoin Passport API or rely on Gitcoin Passport to keep operating the services forever. So it's a really nice way to have, you know, keep things more decentralized. But yeah, it's a great milestone, and I'm excited for more people to start finding out more about how Ceramic works and like the benefits of building applications on it. But yeah, again, it's like a different model entirely, and you have to kind of unlearn the way you traditionally build software to understand like how to build it in a way that's conducive to this decentralized data model setup.
It's gotten so much better. Like we've been using Ceramic for like 4 years, I think, maybe even 5.
Yeah.
Like since we started Metagame, like the profiles were based on Ceramic, and it's been challenging in the beginning, but yeah, it's a great product at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I encourage people to like go back and take another look if they've tried it in the past and didn't stick with it. I think the experience is a lot better. The tooling around it is a lot better now as well. So yeah, I think, yeah, we're going to try to use it more at MetaFactory as well. All right, next one. Yeah, Yeet House.
Unruggable crowdfunding. Yeah, the new version of Eater is out.
Yes, sir. Eater. So this is like, I think this was coming out of like all the meme coins that were launching.
Yeah, I DM'd them and I was like,
idea
why is this not framed as the initial meme offering platform? Like this it should be like
IMO.
This is the IMO platform. Like this should be like front and center.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a bunch of platforms like that people have built, but I think, yeah, it would be worth having, you know, the Metacartel branded version of it that, you know, launches the Moloch DAO and things like that.
I mean, it's, yeah.
But again, I think
they shouldn't just like focus it on meme coins, because like you can obviously use it for legit projects. And I mean, meme coins can be legit, obviously, but yeah, I don't know.
Let's see what are these eats. But yeah, I think like the Gnosis chain.
The TLDR is crowdfunding where you send money and the money is in a DAO and you can rage quit it. Like you don't send it to someone's address or a multi-sig but the year
Mm-hmm.
is like bootstrapping a DAO, and it's cool. That's how we did
Yeah.
the fundraising metagame.
So it's like a feed that you can like use. It's kind of like Juicebox in a way, but like the launching a DAO house DAO instead. Or nice Yeats career hub event from Opolis.
What happened there?
How are we doing? Let's keep the vibes high in here. My name is Rachel. I'm your event host today, and we're here today to help you find a job in Web3.
By far, the most successful event we had to date.
We had a headshot station where job applicants could get a free professional portrait to use with their resumes.
What Rachel's doing here with the Career Hub is amazing. I already felt like its impact. I myself am looking for a stable job here in Web3. It's pretty tough to find work. Where do you go? Who do you talk to? Getting feedback about your resume. I got all of that and more here. Honestly, I felt like I had a breakthrough.
Spend time investigating yourself while you're also applying for jobs. It's the best thing that you can be doing as a job seeker. We had an incredible day, very successful. The planning of this was amazing. The teams that we had on this were 8 players. The takeaways from today are people want this as a staple event at Youth Denver, so give people what they want. People want resume help. People want to network. And on the flip side, sponsors want to engage and be in the room and connect and find their next great talent. Maybe we can have a bigger space next year to be able to accommodate all of the amazing individuals that were here. Thanks for having us.
Damn, DC Denver side events were like conferences of their own.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like soon like if that's always the meme about ETH Denver is like it's like every year it's like bigger and more. So like where does it end? Like if you take it like what's ETH Denver in 1,000 years?
At some point there should just be like
it's like its own planetary species at some point.
At some point there should just be like this year ETH Denver has no ETH Denver. Like it's all just events organized by people, and there's
that's how it almost should be. It's just like there's no one central ETH Denver.
I mean there already is like I don't know how many.
But I liked. For me personally, I think it's the same thing as what we were talking about with this like meta media and show format is like how MetaFest was kind of MCon 3 in a way, because there was no MCon that year, but it was like a new event with a new format, a new kind of branding, and I think that's nice too to keep things fresh. But yeah, it depends. Like it's hard to like at the end of the day, ETH Denver is still a huge way that people first kind of make their inroads and into the community, and it's still like very accessible in that way. But yeah, it's hard to imagine it like just continuing to grow forever in that way. It needs to somehow come to an end and then be renewed into something greater. Kind of like with the I guess that's probably one of the biggest news that's not in this list is that Metacartel gutted the Chile.
Oh yeah,
and
Chile
sent all the money. That's probably the biggest top headline is So for those who don't know, the entire Metacartel treasury of like I think like around 40 ETH. I don't know the exact 39. Number. 39 ETH, was sent to the Legal Defense Fund for the Tornado Cash devs, Roman and Alexei, I believe. And so that's like Peter Pan, I think, made that proposal, and is essentially a way to like it's like a self-sacrificial getting the Chile. To then like support open source, like the freedom of like open source software development, and that's I think again all great things should come to an end. If you have like a TV show that goes on for too many seasons until like there's just like not enough people to give a damn about it anymore, and it like slowly dies a sad death. It's a lot worse than like ending it at its peak. If you look at like Habib, like the UFC fighter, he like ended his career at his like absolute peak, and people were like upset about it because it's like, oh, well, you end at your peak, but it's much better to like end at your peak than to like be like slowly like decay away into
it's
irrelevance.
like the fucking Simpsons. They're like on the season 50, and it's like go home. Please stop.
As opposed to like Seinfeld, you know, is a classic example that's quoted for ending at its peak as well. And you know, all my favorite shows ended at their peak, like Mr. Robot, Hannibal. You know, if a show doesn't end and leave you like wanting way more, then it's like not a good show. You know, so like look at Game of Thrones. You know, like that's a perfect example of what goes wrong. Is like at the end you just like, you know, you lose the enthusiasm and passion, and like it just kind of becomes a like a parody of itself in a way. Back to ETH Denver, I think like gutting the chili of ETH Denver and like spreading those resources like wider to then, you know, I think even have like different types of events in like different cities, you know, like obviously there's a huge Denver hub and that will like continue to exist, but like spreading the learnings and format and playbook of ETH Denver and being able to replicate it in more places, because the value of ETH Denver is like they've been doing this stuff for so long and they've gotten so good at like so many things, but having it all that like, you know, resources and knowledge and whatever only being used for one event is like limiting, versus if you can apply those learnings and replicate a lot more in a lot different places, you can, I think, have a much greater impact. So, you know, I like the upcoming MCon we're doing in Detroit now instead of Denver again. You know, it's a good change up. I think that, you know, not fearing change and keeping things fresh is how we, you know, continue to move forward and not like stagnate.
But the Denver team was going to organize a conference in Europe as well last year, but I don't think it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think they need to do Europe, like just even spreading more across the States, and especially like this career hub was cool too, because it's like, again, people who aren't necessarily deep enough into Web3 to have the network and connections to find work that like that way. It can kind of be an in from there, and I can like attest to that myself. Like before I went to my first like conference and met like all the Metacartel people, I was like, you know, looking for Web3 jobs on like the career pages, because that's like what you do. You know, you don't really, people outside Web3 don't really understand the nature of how Web3 works, in terms of like, you know, you can just like go in and create value and build cool stuff with other people. And so they kind of go from that traditional route of like finding a job at a career hub. So it's like a accessible format. People are familiar with it. And so like using that is useful, but you know, having a touring career hub in many cities, you know, as its own standalone thing. It doesn't have to be a full crypto conference and a career hub, but you can, you know, you basically just like contact like certain people at all the universities in the major cities. You know, university campuses would be the best place to do this. You have like the people who are, you know, trying to figure out where to go with their life and have, you know, been vetted to a certain degree of like a certain level of competency and skill. And so it's a great, I think, channel to tap into. And so like if you can have a bunch of these like Web3 career hub events happening in universities around the US, that is pretty big, I think. And there's such a huge demand for it, because like all the tens of thousands of like really skilled devs that got laid off from like Silicon Valley, you know, they have hard time finding jobs, never mind all the kind of newer devs or people who, you know, learned to code during the bear market, or not the bear market, the like COVID. They're all like, it's such a difficult time right now to find a job in tech, and you pretty much can't, any like public job board type of thing is like impossible. You really have to try to like find a community and make connections and try to get like some sort of referral to get any decent role in that way. So it's not too different in Web3. I think a lot of the hiring still happens from like Twitter and just like running into people that way. But I think these and I think Metagame is kind of in this sphere too. Like Metagame is kind of this career hub, but more it's like more Web3 native version of that, versus Opolis is much more like traditional. And that's what always Opolis has been, is like translating the Web3 world to like traditional setup in terms of like, they have their healthcare thing, and you're, paying yourself from your like Web3 income and all the taxes and stuff you do with that. So I think that recruiting format and doing it in more places would be really beneficial just for tech world, and how much, stuff that needs to be built in Web3, it really needs kind of an injection of like fresh blood of people who, are designers and devs and aren't so Web3 native that they can't, perceive how a normal person wants to use an app, which unfortunately, like I think some of us fall into, where it's just so like Web3 specific with its jargon and everything. So you see a lot of the coolest kind of consumer Web3 apps that are being built in the last like few months have been from, new teams from like Silicon Valley that are starting to build in Web3 now. So I think that's like an important thing to happen, and it's a perfect time for it, because now we have the tech in Web3 from just like the tooling and the scalability of the L2s, and how easy it is to build a Web3 app now. It's like, you have like WAGMI and all the new like libraries for building like React Web3 apps, and it's the wallet abstraction, account abstraction, gas abstraction, all that being figured out. It's like much more friendly to build like real consumer applications.
Most of this shit just didn't exist a year or two ago.
Exactly, yeah. And it's kind of interesting to think about going back to Metacartel. Like the original purpose of Metacartel was to fund, the consumer application layer of Web3. And, we were super early in that when we were, there's like no one else doing it pretty much. But now it's crazy to see just how much interest and mind share there is in like Web3 consumer crypto. Especially like, within Farcaster ecosystem, and what Farcaster kind of set it as an example of like this next gen interface into like Web3 consumer experiences.
Definitely.
Next up, Giveth. Donations can be accepted via Arbitrum. Yeah, like shouldn't be limited to any chain. Donations on Solana even. Let's get that going.
It's one of the next points.
Nice.
I don't think I'm not sure there's connections via Solana, but you can connect. Actually, there should be, because you can connect with the Solana wallet, and there's Give now on Solana.
Yeah, I saw that actually.
So one of the next news points. Give is now available on Solana.
Yeah, we can open that one now. So, because it's relevant here. Yeah, Solana is an interesting thing too. It's been cool to see how like the people's perspective of it shifting recently to like, it's the easiest way for the average normie to get on chain with like not that much spending money,
It's about to be base.
And yeah, base now too. But Solana is, I think, still a lot cheaper than base.
Yeah. When it doesn't have these network issues. It's had the past week.
Yeah, it's like faster but less reliable. It's like a Ferrari instead of a Toyota Camry.
But yeah, I saw like there's a lot of this meme coin momentum and money shifting from Solana to base. I think there's going to be a lot of cool shit on base. Like Coinbase is one of the biggest onboarders of retail into crypto. And
yeah,
they have their own chain.
For sure.
If they had a token, it would be such a no-brainer.
I don't think they need a token because they have like Coinbase stock.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised
if I think a token would just throw a wrench into the plan.
As like the gas token on base. Or just like push for its usage on the chain.
I mean, I think it's fine even having ETH as a gas token on base. Like, I think ETH aspect of it should still be, ETH is like, I think, a very underrated asset still. But people, like, if you look at what's happening with Eigenlayer, I think that's another news point we could have added here. But with Eigenlayer, you realize ETH is actually this, like, again, this goes to like the ultrasound money thing. It's like a fruit of a financial asset where, like, the more you squeeze it, the more juice you can get out of it. And there's like things like Eigenlayer lets you like maximize that juice, because now instead of just securing Ethereum as a chain, the ETH as an asset can secure like a lot of other chains. So it's just like gold is valuable because it's rare, but also because it has a lot of like industrial applications. And like, even if there wasn't any mimetic value for gold, it would still be very valuable because of all the different use cases for it, in like electronics and so much things. So ETH then has like so much quote unquote utility and value that it can provide security for many different chains, and those chains will then want to reward these ETH holders. So I think having that is like the most positive something, using that as the gas token, especially because the layer 3 like format, like that's really actually what it's going to take, is having these like layer 3 app chains or kind of these like sub communities for this to really scale. Because even Base, it hit like the gas fee started getting high even just in the last like few weeks of a couple 100,000 people really actively using it. And the vision for Web3 should be like everything, like all of our time that we spend is like represented as like Web3 actions as much as possible, or like on-chain. So that's another thing too I have to get used to, is like using on-chain instead of Web3. I think Coinbase actually did a study on it where on-chain as a term resonates the most and like performs the best in terms of describing the whole ecosystem we're talking about. So yeah, block space and the bandwidth on chain becomes a huge factor, and it's only going to work if you want like millions of people using it like very frequently with like layer 3s and whatever tokens there are on those things. So I think Coinbase, they'll invest into projects and the various meme coins and stuff. I think it's better for them to do that and like experience the gains of like the wider ecosystem than to have their own token on that chain. That kind of creates like a dichotomy, or like like a tug of war type situation between different assets. And I think having only what's like absolutely necessary is the ideal way to design things. Like that's like the nature inspired way to design things. If you look at like how like a bird flies and how it's constructed, it's like the minimum most efficient design that uses like the least resources. So in that sense, I think layer 2s, ETH layer 2s using ETH as a gas token makes sense. I think it's short-sighted to think that having a chain's own token and using that as a gas token would be good for the ecosystem. It's like, I think you can rationalize it in some ways, but there's second order effects of that that can, I think, do more harm than good.
Fair enough. Then what we got? Bloom Network shared the
Bloom
project.
Network.
I love Bloom Network. Like it's the regioning since before regions.
They're like, they're super OGs and all this. When Oppenheimer was designing the world's first nuclear bomb, was he imagining the human potential for explosive creation as opposed to destruction? As the community development work continues on the ground here in Sicily, integrating permaculture principles using blockchain infrastructure, the collective consciousness is starting to shift. When there's one example of something working, then the meme spreads with every new mind remixing and recreating the idea through their own personal context, reflecting and solidifying the culture in a new yet familiar way back to the whole. So they planted these trees. Whole community came together.
The usual
social
suspect.
Connections. Very nice. Another woman who is a psychologist and who recently bought some farmland after finishing a permaculture design wants to host animal therapy retreats. Nice. Yeah. The critical mass of mutual support enhanced by digital technology to propel our budding project to the next stage of growth. Commemorate the event we made a pop so we can enjoy the moment on chain forever. Nice. Yeah, I think like, you know, this is a huge aspect of it, is like the core human experience of like being in a community of people and taking care of each other, and, you know, like treating it not as like a bunch of individuals, but the whole community as like one body, where this is actually a hadith actually with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said this, but like the whole community should be like a body where if one part of the body is hurting or aching, the whole rest of the body you know, comes to it to try to like heal that part most. So, you know, when you get like a virus or a fever or something, like your whole body is like aching and paining and, you know, fighting against that thing that's like hurting one part of it. So, you know, we thinking of like the group as like you know, again, this comes down to like individual versus like group preference, but optimizing for the group as a whole and everyone doing that is actually also the way to max each individual's benefit too, counterintuitively, you know. And this is like kind of like classic coordination failure thing of, you know, each person, you know, it just takes a few people to defect and serve themselves before others, for then everyone to then think the best policy is then just serve themselves, so they don't get taken advantage of. But creating like the culture and you know, create the opportunities for people to connect each other and support each other, and, you know, this is again like for me, like I find this like divide a lot between like Western kind of ways of like nuclear families and, you know, Eastern ways of like you know, a whole village raising children. I think, you know, bringing more of that energy into like the Web3 space and creating like especially I think raising kids is one of the biggest things, like the difference in like effectiveness and effort and value and impact when you can have a community of parents you know, providing services and taking care of like a community of kids is like, versus just like one parent caring for their kids and having to do everything themselves, is like the efficiency of operation is huge, you know. Like me, I have like, you know, dozens of cousins, like probably like 8 aunts and uncles that came from, I'm like first generation, so they came from like Pakistan to Canada. And, you know, the only way, like each of them, like all the 8 uncles, like each of them have like 3 or 4 kids each. So the only way that they're able to like have that many kids, still like earn an income, do work, and like take care of us in the best way possible was by like, you know, again, aggregating the efforts, and everyone kind of providing what they can provide best to the whole group, you know, instead of just their kid only. So, you know, similarly, like whatever I'm good at teaching my kid, you know, might be like this like tech stuff. Instead of just teaching my kid alone, I can go to like my like local mosque and have like a youth event where like, you know, dozens of kids from the community can come and like, you know, learn this stuff, and it creates an opportunity to build bonds within the community and to, you know, like become closer with one another. And so, you know, I think that gets lost a lot with like, you know, pure like online connections and, you know, being behind the screen. You know, there's like we can communicate with like text and voice and video and whatnot, but there's still like it's a narrow pipe compared to the like emotional bandwidth you get from, you know, connecting to people in person. Oh, let's see, good news from Costa Rica, because I was just going to mention Costa Rica as well, with Meta Campus there, and trying to like, you know, bootstrap that as like a local community, you know, Web3 adjacent in Costa Rica. A few weeks ago, Diamante Bridge Collective in Costa Rica shared exciting news in a blog post. They successfully raised funds to move the gift house. Read the blog post here. Okay. Let's see. And yeah, Costa Rica is interesting because there's like a decent amount of history there of like expats and people like setting up these kind of regen communities. It's like probably one of the most regen countries in the world.
All right.
Yeah. We raise funds to move the gift house. It's been disassembled, hauled across the river, and shade structure built to fight the materials from rains while the foundation is being set for the new location. Nice. Okay, so it's like this little house in some farmland, Costa Rica. Oh wow. Okay, so it's like this is the renderings of like the larger village they're building. So this is actually similar to MetaCampus in a way. It's cool to see like parallel projects working on building like physical communities in Costa Rica.
Yeah, I think this is like a give it thing.
Nice. Oh yeah, because Griff is in Costa Rica now, right?
A lot of them live there in this Diamante Valley.
I'm curious where Diamante Valley is exactly.
Not too far from the coast.
Yeah, so it's pretty close to the coast. Probably like a 10-minute drive. But it's like, much more south. The MetaCampus is going to be more closer to here, in this area. Yeah, so like the Liberia International Airport is about like 1 hour, 45-minute to 1 hour drive away from
fairly far
where like MetaCampus would be. Here, I would probably think San Jose Airport would be the closest one to get from there. Token Engineering Academy dropped in chat at W3 Hub.
Like, what is token engineering? It's good token engineering, then how and where do I start?
If you consider launching a token, you have, let's say, 4 key challenges. Number 1 is the legal challenge. So I wouldn't recommend any project to consider launching a token without verifying the regulatory landscape. At the same time, of course, token launches are mostly about fundraising. And fundraising is just the beginning of a journey. You try to onboard users and make them invest in your token. We actually know from Web 2, finding problem solution fit, finding product market fit. And then, since we have permissionless systems, you start implementing the rules of the game, so to say, that they don't exploit the network, that you can align the interests of all your stakeholders. And this is the mechanism design. You embed the rules in code.
Everybody doing shorts.
Yeah, it's great. I love to see it. Bread Chain Cooperative is building or is moving over to Gnosis Chain.
Gnosis Chain, that's not something you hear often. Where are you going, Bread Chain?
So is Bread Chain its own chain?
I don't think so. I think it's just a coin, a network of cooperatives. Integration with Gnosis Pay, I guess that makes sense.
Nice. That's pretty sick. Actually, I didn't know they had that.
Did you get the card? No.
No, I should.
Gnosis Visa.
Yeah.
I need to get one too.
Oh, I'm glad to see Gnosis Chain still has interest. Because it's kind of like an older L2, so it doesn't have the hype of, all the newer roll-ups launching and stuff.
These days.
Yeah. Biddle, Giddle, what are they up to? Scaffold ETH. Oh yeah, I saw this actually. It's pretty
format cool. For Bowtie Friday is I shill you some builds from the Build Guild, and you maybe pick a favorite. I think maybe last time we had like a best technical implementation and biggest impact. So maybe you could have an impact score and a technical score here. But let me shill you some builds from the Build Guild.
Yeah,
so for anybody who wants to get into building in crypto, like join Build Guild. Like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a great way to start. Austin is an MVP. All right, let's see. Token Engineering Commons got the Gitcoin match.
That's nice.
Extra matching. That's cool. Extra, or they got 50K now. Congrats to you guys. Common Stack shared mycelial design patterns for Web3. Nice. That's up my alley. The secrets of mycelial networks and their potential to reshape our economic systems.
I saw this book
in the newly published book Exploring MicroFi mycelial design patterns for Web3 and beyond. Very good. Yeah, I remember I gave my ETH Denver talk in 2022, maybe, I think. It's about like taking inspiration from mycelial structures and systems for how to build the optimal Web3 systems. A lot of knowledge on here, or not a lot of knowledge here that we can tap into by understanding how these systems work. It's like, this is nice because it's not like any sort of liberalism or conservatism or like political ideology of like left versus right. It's like the structure of the nature that we all live in, and the systems that, enable all the beautiful complexity that we have to emerge. Learning from that is like, that's core to our being. Nice. Some memes. Should be a meme coin, like cat in shroom. Get that book, guys. What else do we have? Deorg crew snapped up first place for best use of account abstraction. EIP 4337.
Oh, nice.
Guardians of the Paymasters. Okay. Self-custodial API that protects DApp paymasters from unintended usage are part of the most comprehensive safeguard policy suite. Interesting. Yeah, this is pretty huge because, like, with account abstraction, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on top of it to enable like the right UX of, defining safety of what permissions you grant to an application to act on behalf of your account. Nice. They built it on Next.js. No, Firebase. Why Firebase? Don't use Firebase. Firebase bad. Ceramic good. Yeah. Cool. Check this out. And RNDAO posts on compensation for early stage teams. It's the age-old problem of compensation. Nice, yeah. Check this out. Curious to see where they land, but it's never a solved problem. It just depends on what you want to optimize for. If you want to move fast and build a lot of things rapidly, you need to do more like traditional compensation and have like, kind of lean startup format of working, because that's what people are used to, and that's how you can be most effective with bringing on a lot of people. But if you want to experiment with newer stuff, you have to be willing to deal with a lot of friction and or limiting it to people who are passionate about the way things happen and not just the outcome. Using coordinate versus just having salaries and stuff. So
the only thing I don't like is making it location based.
Yeah, I think that shouldn't matter. In fact, if it doesn't matter, that's better, because it means more people will be willing to live in locations that have a lower cost of living. For me, that's like a big reason why I'm still like in my city, because like it's the cheapest place for me to live with all the resources and connections I have here, and just like the general cost of living here being relatively low, although obviously going up because of inflation, but it allows me to max out my how much I can earn, and that's huge, especially for people living in like other places. That's should be how it works. That'll be like the natural balancing system. Well, everyone can look at the headlines here and check out the actual newsletter to see these links. But yeah, mainly stuff about XE, Linux hacks, AI software engineers, some sand batteries, and the Vision Pro. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yes. And thank you, MD, for co-hosting.
Thank you too, Peth, and see you guys